What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to talk about Vim, the ubiquitous text editor, and why I prefer Vim over any other editor in a much better way. So if you know Vim, or you might not know Vim, it's a really old text editor from 90s, and it's a really lightweight text editor, and everyone is asking these days why are people still using Vim while there are programs like Visual Studio Code, or I don't know, Atom, Sublime Text, or even enhanced IDEs like Eclipse, PyCharm, CLine, Visual Studio. I don't know, there are a lot of text editors and IDEs these days. So why Vim? Let me explain it in a bit, and in the end of this video I hope that you will be exhilarated with my opinions about Vim and the configurability, the customization of Vim, and I hope that you will download Vim and give it a shot. So why Vim? Why like a 90s text editor preferred over much like Windows Visual Studio Code? So let's look at an example here. A Visual Studio Code installer has a 200 megabyte size, and in hard disk it has a total of 500 megabytes. So it's relatively small, not much of a big deal these days. However, this is just the base Visual Studio Code size. So if you add plugins, so for example ClangD for C++ support, or I don't know, C# IntelliSense for C#, blah blah etc., this 500 megabytes goes to 3-4 gigabytes of size. So it's just the base of it is 500 megabytes. Or for example, if you are coding in Python, there are not much choices. The preferred ones are, I don't know, Anaconda, PyCharm, and Jupyter Notebook. So PyCharm, Jupyter Notebook, they are and Anaconda, they are all both IDEs, and they have a relatively large size compared to text editors. So for example, let's look at PyCharm total size here. As you can see, it has a 2.5 gigabyte disk space, and also it includes a 1 gigabyte for cache size. So it's a total of 3.5 gigabytes, and it's relatively big. And if you are writing codes in these programs, as you might have noticed, there can be sometimes delays in the program, or I don't know, slow running in the program, or even when you are looking in the browser searching for something, because PyCharm is running on the background, sometimes your PC can get a little bit laggy and a little bit slower. And let's look at the Vim total size. So as you can see, Vim size is 37 megabytes. It's much smaller than the other ones. So it's relatively 1/10 size of Visual Studio Code. And Vim also has plugins too, so this is actually not 37 megabytes, but its plugins are much more less than Visual Studio Code or any other text editor or IDE programs. But I know you are still saying that these are not my problems. I have a good computer and I just want to write in a good editor, like with auto completion, I don't know, showing the errors good way, debugger. You're correct, I'll come to that. Let's look at an example here. So for example, I have my PyCharm open here, and if you look at the processes now, as you can see, Java is the process of PyCharm. It's all written in Java, all JetBrains products, IDEs. As you can see, it currently uses 6% of CPU and 6% of memory, doing nothing. I'm not running any program. It has finished its configuration, so in idle state it uses 6% of my CPU and 6% of my memory. I think this is pretty large. And I know it has a good debugger, it has good syntax highlighting, it has good auto-completion, blah blah etc. However, you can all make these by yourself in Vim. Vim has a lot of plugins to download, and you can pretty much download anything. So for example, as you can see, so this is the jarvis.py file here. Actually, let me open the current one. So this is the jarvis.py file here. I'll open it in Vim now. So as you can see, I'm in the same directory now, and I'm just opening the same file. As you can see, it has pretty much good syntax highlighting. It shows the errors well. It also warns me about the pepate errors, as you can see from below. So too many instant attributes, blah blah. And I think the colors are pretty nice. So I prefer these colors over PyCharm's colors. I know PyCharm is configurable, but I think Vim's interface is much better than PyCharm's interface. So I know this is still not enough. I'll explain it in a little bit. And Vim has a lot of plugins, as I've told you about. So I'll just show you some of them which I've configured and downloaded. So for example, in this Jarvis Python project, I have a global file called global. And in this global file, I just hold global variables in it. So for example, I want to change something in this code, and I want to know what the global variable's value is. And in PyCharm, I'll just double click and change my current window, and after that I'll look at it. So for example, I just go in global.py and I just look at my stuff, API key, blah blah. In Vim, actually I can just split it. So if I press F1, it gives me a small bit of file manager, a project structure here. And I can move it with the normal Vim keys, J and K for up and down. And if I just go to globals and press S, it will open it in a split window. And I can freely write anything I want in these split windows. So for example, comment here, and I can delete it, and I can freely move around between windows, pretty much easy. Also, if you like PyCharm style, not the split window, if I just go to global.py and press T here, it will open it in a new tab, and I can just move between tabs with GT or arrows, whichever you prefer. I've just configured these. So I know still it's not enough. I know that PyCharm or other programs have much better syntax highlighting, or I don't know, you just prefer the way it handles visuals. So let's continue. Let me show you a bit of example here. So for example, if I want to write Java code, and I'm using the IntelliJ IDE for this example, I need to install IntelliJ IDE, I need to configure my IntelliJ IDE, after that I'll try to write my Java code, so on and so forth. And in some time, for example, I'm a bit of a good programmer, and I'm just saying it, I don't know anything. So for example, I write 4 languages like C++, Java, C, I don't know. So I need to use IntelliJ IDEA for Java. I need to use CLion, or I don't know, Dev C++, Microsoft Visual Studio for C++. And if I want to write Python, I need to switch back to PyCharm again. So it just gets a little bit complicated, I think. So for each different programming language, each different tech stack, we need to create or download new files, configure all of them, and in every change I just need to change my program, close the other one, open the other one, blah blah. So I think it's a complex work and it's a hard work. In Vim, I just use everything for Vim, and I mean it. So I'm writing C++ currently, also Qt C++, and Qt prefers that you need to use Qt editor for it. I'm not using Qt editor, I'm using Vim. Or if I'm going to write Python, I use Vim again. If I'm going to write Java, I use Vim again. If I write Go, I use Vim again. I just use Vim for everything. Just one simple program, and all of my configurations are in it. Even if I open Python, even if I open Java, or I don't know, C++ code, I have my own colors, and I have my own syntax highlighting, and everything is perfect, just like I want to be. I don't want to configure 3 or 4 programs every time I need to change something. So I know still it's not enough. Let me show you a bit more, and I think I'll be in your heart by the end of this video, I hope. So I'm just going to go to my temporary directory here, and let's say that vimtut, and I'll just change the directory here. So for example, I want to write Python, so vim, let's call this print.py, okay? So as you can see, it auto included the user bin Python variable, as well as it put the main flags here. I'm not doing anything, it just automatically does it. So let's say that print I am learning Vim here. So I've written my code now. If I just press Shift and P, so P is for Python, Shift at and P, it will automatically run my Python code, and as you can see, it just writes I am learning Vim. So far so cool. Also let me show you some cool stuff here too. So for example, if I have a variable called x underscore store, and let's just say it's underscore store and blah 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 blah. So for example, if I want to change this x underscore store variable, or I want to highlight how much of this variable I have, how much did I change of it, I just press F3, and F3 highlights all x underscore store variables in my program. If I press F3 again, it dehighlights all of my code. So I know Visual Studio Code or PyCharm has this too. It's just the normal stuff. Okay, so let's continue. For example, I have lines like, how can we do that? Like I have this x underscore store variables 4 times, and I just want to delete the store part of it, but from everything, from each of the 4 lines. So for example, I don't know if other editor supports it. I think Sublime Text supports it, the multi-pointer stuff. I just press Ctrl V to select, and select the columns I just want to delete, and if I press X, all of them will be gone now. So this is a pretty cool feature. So let's continue. This is for Python, obviously. So for example, I just want to write a simple Java code. I am solving algorithms or data structures problems from some website, I don't know, anything. So for example, let's call this vim.java, okay? So as you can see, it automatically put the public class Vim here. And let's say that public static void main and string args here. And I just write sysout here. It automatically finishes it, like Eclipse or other stuff. And let's write here, I am learning to write Vim here. So far so cool. So if I just press Shift J here, J for Java, obviously, as you can see, it automatically run my Java file. I think this is better because, for example, most Java files are like big projects, and it has lots of files in it, and most of the IDEs like Eclipse or IntelliJ IDEA doesn't want you to run Java files by single files. So in Vim you can create any of these files, and you can just write public static void main string args, and if you press just Shift J, it will run the current file. It will not touch anything, and it won't give you any errors. So Java for Shift J, Python for Shift P. So far so cool. So let's continue. For example, let's change it again. I just want to write a C++ file. So Vim, let's call this a.cpp. I've preferably kept C++ files empty, which I'll explain why. And for example, I have a call function here, and if I just call cpp usual1, it will automatically insert the header here with author as my name, and also it flags the date, and it just includes the base input output stream library with using namespace standard here. And if I write cout I am learning Vim, and if I just run this file, so C++ is not shift C, I assigned it to Shift J because The C++ compiler is G++. So if I just hit Shift G, and it will write I am learning Vim here, as expected. For example, I am a competitive programmer, and maybe some of you are competitive programmers too. So for example, I just opened a new file called b.cpp, and time is really important in competitive programming contests, as you might know. And for example, I have created some macros for myself. I have created some function templates for myself to be able to solve the problems fast. I just hit Shift C here, and it automatically writes all my also my name and all my macros, as well as libraries, as well as my functions here. So it writes pretty much everything, as you can see. And if I just hit Shift G again, it will automatically run this file again. So let's continue. What is much more to Vim, as you might say to me? Actually, I can show you a little bit of stuff too. So for example, I'm writing a simple C++ file. Include IOStream here, using namespace standard here, and I'm just going to write a int main, and after that I'll just put my curly braces. Simple. So far so good and simple. So first I'll write it with like a normal text editor with no Vim bindings, and after that I'll write it Vim, and you'll see how it can differs in code. Also, if you might not know, if you are pretty good in Vim, there is like 30% typing speed compared to normal text editors. Because there are lots of key bindings. So for example, if I hit escape inserts to normal mode, and if I press O, it enters a new line and starts the new lines from there. So for example, I am writing int main here, like normal, int main, I've opened the parentheses, closed the parentheses, and after that I've pressed enter and put my curly braces like this. In Vim, I don't do this int main like that. By the way, I like the curly braces like this. I can't explain it pretty well. I don't use this. I use curly braces after a line. Okay. So if I was going to write this in Vim, I write int main, then open my parentheses, and after that I just hit escape and O here and put my flags. So you might say this is not much of a big difference, but you are writing tons of functions, tons of for loops, tons of other stuff, and Vim really makes it much easier. So for example, let's write a simple for loop without using Vim syntax. So for like int I equals 0, I smaller than 10, then I plus plus. Now I need to go to the arrow keys, press right, and then enter, and then blah blah do stuff here. However, in Vim, I just write the same stuff again. E smaller than 10, then I plus plus, escape O, enter, and put my curly braces there. And for example, I want to replace a code block, or I just want to. So for example, if I made a typo like this, what was that? It was int. So ITN. I want to change this to int. So without Vim, with normal text editors, I will pretty much delete these two and just write int as corrected. However, in Vim, you can just press X to copy a char and delete it, and P to paste it afterwards. So if I just hit, I'm sorry, it was ITN. If I just hit XP, it will automatically change to int. Also, let's say that I want to delete 4 lines here, so 7 to 10. Normally I would delete all of this and I will press delete. However, in Vim there is no need for that. If I just hit 4 and BD, it will automatically delete 4 lines below from our code. So Vim is really enhanced. Obviously I am not going to explain everything here because it's a pretty much complex program. I just want to give you an insight of if you configure Vim, how much you can use it for everything. Also, I am using it for Unity too. As you might know, Unity only supports Visual Studio for the text editor. Also, it uses C#, so in Linux, C# is kinda bad. It doesn't perform like in Windows, but I can pretty much do anything I am doing in Visual Studio with C# in Vim 2. Also, I am writing Vim to produce 2D games in Unity. So this is pretty much how Vim can do pretty much everything. And let me show you some stuff here too. It also includes, like in Java, so for example, if you're writing Java, let's call this a.java, and for example, I want to use, what was it? Collections. If I just press enter here, it will automatically import Java util collections here, just like in Eclipse. It uses JDK-ls, by the way, the Eclipse backend. Therefore, you can do anything you are doing in Eclipse in Vim 2. Also, it can produce getters and setters too. It can pretty much do everything you can do it in Eclipse. So this is just a simple comprehension of how Vim works. You just need to practice some because key bindings are a little different than usual key bindings because it's old. However, if you try to use Vim and if you just, I don't know, spend 1 week of it, I'm assuring you, you won't use anything again. So this video tutorial is actually ended. And by the way, I'm creating a simple operating system with Arch Linux kernel based. And this is actually some kind of inside of it. In some time after, I don't know, maybe like 2-3 weeks from now, I'll release the ISO. It will come with a fully pre-configured Vim. Also, if you want to try Vim with my configuration, I also included in my GitHub. You can just download the init.vim file from there and just put it in your local nvim init.vim file. So let me show you it too. So if you are using Linux, the nvim configuration file will be in .config, in home directory .config and nvim. Just copy and paste my init.vim here. However, if you want my macros and other stuff to just clone my Vim project from GitHub. So, actually, there is one more stuff. Lucky I remembered it. So I'm opening init.vim here. So for example, some time passed and this, I don't know, I wanted to change my font just for visual purposes. I am bored of this font. I've added a key binding for it too. If I just press Alt and semicolon, it automatically changes my font. It currently includes 3 fonts, but however it can be increased. And if I press Alt and semicolon again, it will change out my font again. So this font is used in macOS computers. This is my normal terminal font, and this font is used in Visual Studio Code or all Visual Studio. I think it's consoles. So I pretty much added everything. I just use Vim for everything. Also, I can prefer to choose whichever font I want. So if I want like a Windows editor, I just use consoles. If I want to use macOS fonts, I just switch the macOS fonts and continue writing code with it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions about Vim or any problems about Vim, feel free to ask in comments. I'll try to help as much as I can. So see you guys. Bye.